The signing of Gabriel Jesus is an ambitious coup by Arsenal, but has their Easter come early, signing Jesus? And for Man City fans, will they be pleased for it? Because ultimately, Jesus, prophet. And Jesus himself, has he got any kind of divine right to be scoring these goals, or is he just looking to resurrect his career? That's what we're going to find out in this video. If you are new to the channel, stop what we're doing right now. Hit the subscribe button. Go. I'll give you 5 seconds. 5, 4. You're slowing everyone else down. Thank you very much. Love you. Let's do this. So Arsenal are signing a 25-year-old Brazilian international who's coming from the champions of the country. That's pretty impressive stuff. Of course, he went to Man City as a 19-year-old. Everyone was so excited about him. He did hit the ground running, but then there have been some bumps in the road. And I think that's a big question that I will ask at the end of this video. Let's talk about his playstyle, because there are lots of questions around his playstyle that some people, especially on ye old football Twitter, the scrolls of football Twitter, the main debate is he a striker or is he a winger? He's both. It's okay to be nuanced on Twitter. And to be honest, you don't really even need that debate, because he's played in both positions. Which position does he prefer playing? I know last year he was talking about, well, actually, I am a right winger. I didn't believe it. I don't think anyone believed it either when they were saying, oh, no, that's what I do. I'm a right winger. Now you're playing. You're playing, and you want to continue to play. Deep down, I think, look, he can do both, right? It's as simple as that. Have a look at this. It's not mutually exclusive. This is first of all, a heat map from last season, 21-22. You can see him obviously hugging that right touchline, getting in the box as well, because Man City is so dominant. But if we then have a look at the 19-20 season, which is considered his best season for Man City, you can see him playing straight through the middle. So in terms of style, play style, he can do both. So the point is there's a big contrast in terms of the areas that he's getting on the ball. And I think that can only be a good thing. You've got more options in terms of what you want to do with him. And last season, he played as a winger, scored 7 goals as a result of that. In 2019-2020, he scored 14 goals playing as a striker and only started 21 matches. So in terms of goals per 90, that's 0.62, which is brilliant. The real question is, how clinical of a striker is he? Because I think the important thing to say is that Arsenal will use him as a central striker. Regardless if Rafinha comes through the door or not, there is no way that he doesn't play through the middle, in my opinion. I think he's an option there if you need him to play on the right-hand side, because you've got Nketiah, and to sort of bump up Nketiah's games at times. You might be able to rotate it and put Jesus on that right-hand side, and I'm sure he can play on the left-hand side as well. But I think he will play very centrally for this Arsenal side. In terms of lineups, I think it's going to be a 4-2-3-1. I think that's what Arteta wants to do, and I think that fits the style of all the players that they're bringing through. Here's a couple of kind of examples, I guess, of how they might set up. In terms of personnel, I think, look, in the centre-back partnership, look, Saliba's going to come in. He's a very, very exciting player. Could be him or Gabriel, who plays on that left-hand side. And I don't think there's a problem there, which gives them real strength in the centre-back position. Otherwise, the back four speaks for itself. Tierney, you're hoping, is going to stay fit this season. Xhaka and Partey, I think, as a double pivot in midfield, and then allowing those players further up the pitch to completely thrive. And in either setup, Jesus plays as a central striker for me, because it's either Rafinha on that right-hand side or Saka on that right-hand side. As my Yorkshire brethren love to say to me, tactics board, off we go. So this is Arsenal. If they are dominating the ball, dominating possession, and in their full attacking flow, I think this is how they set up next year. And it's first thing to say, I think it's quite similar to last year. Of course, you still want to get what you get out of Tierney. You still want Tomiyasu on the other side, providing that elbow back four. Saliba and White, we've spoken about them in terms of who will be the starter there. Saliba really, really strong on the ball. But again, Gabriel, I really, really like him, so it's a bit harsh to leave him out. Saka, let's talk Saka, because I think the important thing here is that he can go both ways. Don't start that again. Look, we spoke about this Raheem Sterling thing. It's not a sexual thing. It's a phrase. He can go either way. He's multifaceted is what I'm trying to say. And so on that right-hand side, he can do that for you when a team is playing with a low block, or ultimately you've got the ball with strong possession in the final third. Odegaard, again, similar to last season, will float about, but kind of focus on this right-hand side, because Smith Rowe will look to sort of punch inside a little bit. Right-footed, so happy to get on that foot. But when it comes to Gabriel Jesus, what he will be looking to do is to be getting in behind and playing as a poacher. I think he will look to play as a poacher, not sort of coming and picking up the ball in this area at any time, because really you're getting into the space of Smith Rowe or Odegaard at any point in time. So it's those little blindside runs behind the fullback or pulling off to try and just sniff out the goals, really. Tierney is one that's going to get those crosses in. Smith Rowe can play those little slide passes into Gabriel Jesus as well. And of course, Saka can do exactly the same on either side, coming inside and then going and making the little through balls. But either way, I think Gabriel Jesus plays as a little poacher on the blind side, trying to get the ball, trying to get those chances within the penalty box. That's all well and good, but what I really love about Gabriel Jesus and this signing in particular is that I think this makes Arsenal so much better against better opposition, actually, and it gives them a very different string to their bow that they didn't truly have, because I think Nketiah's hold-up play is improving, but isn't at the level of Gabriel Jesus or even Lacazette as well. It's nowhere near Lacazette's. But then with Lacazette, yes, he's great in terms of holding onto the ball and bringing other players into play, but he offers no threat in behind at all. Gabriel Jesus offers both. The technical ability and the pace that Gabriel Jesus has is something that we haven't really been able to see because Man City is so dominant. But in quick transitions, I think he could be frightening for Arsenal because he's got the ability to hold up the ball, bring other players into play, but also be that threat in behind. And so you can see from here, from this diagram, if you imagine against a Tottenham, for example, back three, two wide wing backs as well. To be able to hurt the opposition, imagine this with Lacazette. There would be that layoff, but then there was no one really in behind here. Or someone that could spin Eric Dyer or whoever that centre-back might be quickly to hurt them. Gabriel Jesus offers that in abundance. So the likes of Partey, Odegaard, Xhaka, who could find that pass to hit him quickly, those sort of third man runners in terms of Saka and Smith Rowe as inside forwards can then get to Jesus and he can play, and already you've bypassed that midfield. But the important thing are the running movements of Gabriel Jesus once that moment happens. Play it through to him, he plays it to Smith Rowe and go. And as soon as he goes, this becomes a race. And Gabriel Jesus has that power and explosiveness to get in behind, but then the technical ability to do damage after that. That's the massive difference between him and the likes of Nketiah and Lacazette. And I think this is a huge thing that Arteta wants to employ this season. Previously, there's been kind of, this idea of believing the process, but at times it's felt a little bit stagnant. It's been possession heavy and it's just kind of going round and it's a bit slow. I think there needs to be more thrust, more impact, and I think you can see that from the players that Arteta's looking to sign, the likes of Rafinha, the likes of Gabriel Jesus, players who are technically brilliant and can play against the teams in the bottom of the league and dominate possession and break them down in that way, but also players that work hard and are super quick in transition, allowing Arsenal to become a brilliant counter-attacking team that can start to pick up points against those top six sides. So what are the downsides of the deal? I think what we spoke about earlier in terms of, is he a clinical striker? That is something that, again, you can have debates about, but you can't answer right now because now is the time for Gabriel Jesus to answer it. Look, a fee of 45 million in the region of that for a striker coming from the champions, I think is pretty impressive, especially someone who's 25. I think that's great. And you're going to get that return of investment. And we'll talk about the fact that he's 25. I think that's actually quite pertinent as well. But the downside of signing Jesus is that you aren't truly certain of how clinical he is. We spoke about 2019-20, 14 goals that season and assisted 7 from only 21 starts, which, as I said, was awesome. But first of all, you've got to take into account playing for Man City. And second of all, in terms of the rate of return, these 14 goals came from a non-penalty XG of 17. So 17.7, in fact. So he wasn't actually kind of outdoing himself. He was actually underperforming a little bit. And now, I know with Man City, it's always very congested, but still, the XG is the XG. On the 4 seasons before last season, where he was playing as more of a right winger, the average shooting distance from him was 12. It never exceeded 12.9 yards. I mean, that just shows how dominant Man City are. And I think the worry was that, yes, okay, he's got some numbers and he's got some goals, but he's been doing it for a team that is just so dominant. And in terms of being a clinical striker, his best goals to shot conversion rate so far has been 0.24. And that was in the 2017-18 season. You know, that's 4 years ago now. So over the last 4 seasons, he's averaging out at about 0.14, which isn't really that good. And great stat for you, another fact is that he has never, ever scored outside the box. So if you twin that with what we were excited about in terms of him being great in quick transition, his ability to get in behind, we still don't know how clinical he truly is. Of course, you can never answer if a player is going to be good for a team or not. Here's my thoughts on it. The fact is, this guy, buying someone who's 25, it sounds almost like he's a little bit older than kind of that, you know, perfect age of 23, 24, 22, when you can get someone and kind of really get the value on them. So to get him for the money that they've got him, for the prestige that he has, I think is a really, really strong signing. I like the versatility about him, and I actually like the fact that he's a little bit older. Because at Arsenal, you've got a really young side still. And as they sort of grow and grow together, I think you need a striker who's like, okay, now's the time. Now is my time. And in terms of his prime years, we are now heading into those 5-6 years. So for him to sort of kick on now, I think it's a great mini gamble. And it's not really that much of a gamble because he's never going to be terrible. He's been taught brilliant things from Pep Guardiola. Also, Arteta knows him really well. And Arteta will know how he will play, how he will train, how he will behave. All of those things are going to be really important, I think, and have been something that have been a bit of a problem in the past for Arsenal with some of the players, and that's a big thing for Arteta. But as a 25-year-old, I think he can come into this team, and instead of previously being bit part, he's always been bit part at Man City. He has never played over 23 full 90s in a Premier League season. That's not good enough, really. So actually, the only concern you would have is that, you know, is he totally developed? I think he is, because it's Man City, and also, you know, you got Champions League games. Think of the wealth of experience that he's been able to accrue over the last few years. And I think you also saw his personality in the All or Nothing documentary. And I think he's clearly someone who cares, you know, cares about his career and wants to do really, really well. In terms of being that striker, I think to go there, be the guy as the central striker, know you're going to play, I think his confidence will go through the roof here. I think the potential's always been there for him to go up to another level. His strike rate needs to improve, definitely. But I just wonder, I think he will grow in size, you know. Not literally, I think 25 is probably not going to be growing anymore. But in terms of, you know, the chest will puff out. And I think he'll start to be a bit of a leader for this team instead of being the youngster at Man City. I think it's a great move for him. And I think it's a great move for Arsenal as well, because he has that versatility to play on the right-hand side, or possibly on the left-hand side as well, and through the middle. Because that way you've got, for what is a very light Arsenal squad, you've got a player here who can play in a few different positions, but who has the bit between his teeth and is desperate to make a real mark finally on the Premier League as the main man at a football club, a very big football club in Arsenal.